From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
Observing the early trends of the poll results, the Congress Party and the United Progressive Alliance, too, respectfully accept defeat.
After more than 500 million people went to the polls in India's general election, the largest in the world, India's ruling party has faced a crushing defeat. The Prime Minister will be opposition leader Narendra Modi, head of BJP, a Hindu nationalist party. He was chief minister of Gujarat, where one of India's worst anti-Muslim riots occurred and left at least 1,000 people dead. After the bloodshed, the U.S. State Department revoked Modi's visa. Then Jill Abramson, the first female executive editor of the New York Times in its 160-year history, is ousted. Just before her firing, she reportedly had complained about earning less pay than her male predecessors. We'll get reaction from Lynn Povich. She was the first female senior editor in Newsweek's history. She's the author of The Good Girls Revolt, How the Women of Newsweek Sued Their Bosses and Changed the Workplace.
If you wanted to write and you came for a job at Newsweek, you were told, go someplace else, women don't write at Newsweek. We decided that we had to do something because now it's illegal and this is now a moral issue. The men are doing something that is actually against the law. And so one by one, we started secretly organizing.
And mad as hell. That's the response from Veterans Affairs Secretary Eric Shinseki to news that dozens of veterans died during a long wait for medical treatment.
Allegation, any adverse incident like this makes me mad as hell.
We'll get reaction from Veterans Affairs reporter Aaron Glantz and Dr. Jose Matthews, who says he was removed from his position as chief of psychiatry at the VA hospital in St. Louis after reporting unethical workplace conduct. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The Federal Communications Commission has voted to advance a proposal that critics call a threat to a free and open Internet. Hundreds of protesters rallied outside the FCC to protest a plan that could allow Internet fast lanes by letting companies pay providers for faster access to consumers. The agency will allow 120 days of public comment before issuing final rules. FCC Chair Tom Wheeler spoke before the vote.
Potential for there to be some kind of a fast lane available to only a few has many people concerned. Personally, I don't like the idea that the Internet could be divided into haves and have-nots. And I will work to see that that does not happen. In this item, we specifically ask whether and how to prevent the kind of paid prioritization that could result in fast lanes.
In a statement, the group Free Press said, quote, Tom Wheeler spoke passionately about the open Internet, but his rousing rhetoric does not match the reality of his proposal, they said. Thursday's hearing was repeatedly disrupted by protesters, including Cayman Kai of Code Pink, who called for the FCC to classify Internet providers as common carriers to prevent them from providing unequal access.
I speak on behalf of the Internet generation. I grew up on a free and open Internet. We want to
Please, we're trying to move ahead. Trying to move ahead.
To provide service in general terms and indiscriminately. We
Early results in India show nationalist opposition leader Narendra Modi is set to become the new prime minister. Modi previously served as chief minister of Gujarat, where one of India's worst anti-Muslim riots left more than 1,000 people dead in 2002. We'll have more on the election after headlines. Steel workers have reportedly taken control of the eastern Ukrainian city of Mariupol from pro-Russian forces. The workers launched citizen patrols in multiple cities this week after they were urged to take action by their boss, Rinat Akhmetov, Ukraine's richest man. The United Nations, meanwhile, has warned of an alarming deterioration in human rights in the region. Western-backed talks on the crisis opened in Kiev this week, but pro-Russian separatists were excluded. Israeli forces have shot dead 2 Palestinians during a protest in the occupied West Bank. Health officials said the victims were 17 and 22 years old. Palestinians held protests across the occupied territories Thursday to mark the 66th anniversary of the Nakba, or catastrophe, when hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were displaced during the period around Israel's declaration of statehood. Thousands of people have taken to the streets across Brazil to protest the billions of dollars being spent on the World Cup, which begins next month. In Sao Paulo, thousands of families have occupied an area near the site of the opening match. Outside the stadium Thursday, protesters called for more spending on housing, health, and education.
It is shameful, really shameful. Not the stadium itself, but the fact that so much was spent on building the stadium, which has pushed up prices of rent in the area. And while there are no health services in the region, we don't have a basic doctor's surgery or a hospital. Why is that? Because they chose not to spend the money on health or education, but on these works, which have only worsened our housing problems.
Riot police fired tear gas at demonstrators in Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro as protests erupted. Brazilian security forces gathered in Rio for a special training with the FBI on controlling unrest. The training took place in partnership with the Los Angeles and Chicago police departments. In Honduras, military police have deployed tear gas to forcibly evacuate members of Congress, including ousted President Manuel Zelaya. Zelaya and other lawmakers had reportedly been occupying Congress to protest their exclusion from key debates when police moved to oust them Tuesday. The previous night, a member of Zelaya's Libre Party was shot and injured in an attack. He, too, was injured. In San Diego County, California, thousands more people have been warned to evacuate amidst raging wildfires. A total of 10 fires have burned more than 15 square miles, and at least 1 burned body has been found. The United States has released 10 Pakistani prisoners who were held at Bagram prison in Afghanistan for years without trial. One of the prisoners, Yunus Rahmatullah, spent 10 years at Bagram without charge or trial after being captured by British forces in Iraq. The legal charity Reprieve has called for a full investigation into Rahmatullah's capture, noting he's, quote, said to be in a grave mental and physical condition as a result of sustained abuse in UK and subsequently U.S. custody. Prisoners on hunger strike at Guantanamo Bay Prison are asking a U.S. court to bar authorities from destroying video of their forced feedings. The existence of the footage came to light this week as part of a lawsuit against the practice. An estimated 17 prisoners are currently on hunger strike at Guantanamo. The Pentagon has appealed a ruling ordering the release of tightly held secrets about CIA prisons overseas. Last month, a military judge ordered the release of details about the treatment of Guantanamo prisoners and USS Cole bombing suspect Abdel Nashiri. But military prosecutors want to wait at least until the release of the Senate report on CIA torture. Separately Thursday, the Justice Department asked a federal court for more time for the CIA to review the Senate torture report, saying the review, quote, will likely be completed this summer, although an exact time cannot now be determined, they said. Thousands of fast food workers went on strike Thursday in at least 150 cities across the country, marking the largest action of its kind to date. In more than 30 other countries, workers rallied in solidarity with the call for a $15 an hour minimum wage and the right to organize. Sheila Brown was among the workers rallying here in New York.
I work for KFC on Pickens Avenue in Brooklyn, and I'm receiving $8 an hour, and I'm here with other co-workers and other friends that I work with, associates that I work with, and we're standing as one to get $15 in a union. I'm not able to meet my needs, my bills, my children's needs, rent, clothing. It's like hard trying to make it, get back and forth to work. And we're not getting equal pay. The CEOs and corporations, they're getting so much money. We should be able to have that fair share in the wage.
Media outlets have filed a lawsuit in Missouri challenging the growing secrecy around sources of death penalty drugs. The suit filed by The Guardian, Associated Press, and 3 Missouri papers argues the public has a right to know the type, quality, and source of lethal injection drugs. The Guardian reports at least 13 states have changed their rules to withhold all information from the public about how they obtain the drugs. General Motors has recalled another 2.7 million vehicles, many of them with a defect that can cause brake lights to fail. GM knew about the brake light issue in 2008 when it issued a notice requiring car dealers to address the issue only if the owner complained. The move brings the total number of GM vehicles recalled worldwide this year to 12.8 million. Japan is offering to slash protections for domestic meat products as part of ongoing negotiations with the United States over the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP. The secretive trade deal involves 12 countries and 40% of the global economy. Trade ministers plan to discuss the pact in Singapore next week. On Wednesday, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren criticized the secretive nature of trade talks during a speech at Public Citizens Gala in Washington, D.C.
From what I hear, Wall Street, pharmaceuticals, telecom, big polluters, and outsourcers are all salivating at the chance to rig the deal in the upcoming trade talks. So the question is, why are the trade talks secret? You'll love this answer. Boy, the things you learn on Capitol Hill. I actually have had supporters of the deal say to me they have to be secret because if the American people knew what was actually in them, they would be opposed.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez. Welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world.
And congratulations.